Happy Friday, Super Scholars! It's Miss Gross here, and I am so excited that we have made it to another Friday. We know that it's Miss Ford's favorite day of the week, and even though we're working from home, we still want to put in all the effort that we can and take it to the weekend with a bang. Today for math, we are working on lesson 13-4. It is on page 697 of your math workbook. Go ahead and get that out for me so that we can do the solve and share together. 13-4, solve and share. We are working with metric units today. I'm going to give you just a minute to get there. All right, so hopefully you're at the page. If not, pause me so that you can get there. The solve and share for today says find the length of the marker shown in both centimeters and millimeters. Describe the relationship between the two units. So here we have a ruler and a marker, and the ruler is showing centimeters with these big, large numbers. Normally, some of the rulers that we look at are inch rulers. So you'll have the inches in the big, large numbers, and the centimeters won't be labeled with those big ones. They'll be on the other side and they'll be smaller. But in this case, we're just looking at the centimeter side. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those are the centimeters that you're measuring by. The small tick marks in between centimeters are called millimeters. Okay, so what you're going to do first is find how many centimeters long is this marker. And then you're going to go back and say how many millimeters this is. Now, you could count each of these individually, but that might take you some time and cause you some error. So think about a pattern that you might notice as you're looking at the amount of millimeters between each centimeter. Look for a pattern there and see if it will help you skip count it. I'm going to give you just a minute to solve this, and then I'll go over it with you. All right, Super Scholars, hopefully you are close to an answer. If you are not, that's okay. What can you do? Pause me until you get your answer, and then you can hit play once you've got it and are ready for me to check with you. But for the sake of our video and it uploading, not taking too much of your time, I want to go ahead and check with you. Hopefully, the centimeters was pretty easy for you to identify how much it was. We're looking at the bottom of our marker, and we can see that it has started at the right spot on the ruler. It started at the edge, so we know they're not trying to trick us. We're going to go up to the top of it, and I would have just drawn a line over so that you could see where it stopped. My line is showing me that it is 12 centimeters, and cm is how we can abbreviate centimeters instead of having to write out that whole word. So it is 12 centimeters long. Now, we want to look at the millimeters. The millimeters are the one in between. So the first thing I did was I checked to see how many there are there. So I said there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 5 looks like my halfway point, so there must be 10, but let's check. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 would be 10. So there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. That's going to be the same for every section because what you know about a ruler is they're equally spaced. So each section is going to have 10. So what could you have done instead of counting each section all the way up here? Because that might take you a little bit of time. Hopefully, you decided to skip count these. So you could have said 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. There are 120 millimeters, and we can use the abbreviation MM when we're abbreviating millimeters. So you got 120. If you didn't want to skip count, you could have also used your multiplication facts. If you knew there was 12 centimeters and there are 10 millimeters in each, you could have said 12 times 10 equals 120. Okay, so those are ways that you could have solved this to figure it out. Now, the second part of this question asks for us to explain the relationship between these two units. Okay, now I know that that's probably part of it that tripped some of you all up. You're like, well, what does it mean, the relationship between them? They're not dating, Miss Gross. Well, the relationship means how are they similar or different? Okay, what can you do to make them related in this? Okay, and the relationship's really easy. We don't want to overthink it. The answer to this is simply there are 10 millimeters. That's going to take me too long to write this, so I'm not even going to try, guys. There are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. I'm going to write it like this. There are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. Okay, that's the relationship between centimeters and millimeters. All right, well, let's move on. Okay, now normally you know that I skip the visual learning, but today's visual learning is super important to help you build some background knowledge for these measurements that you might not know. Okay, so the question is, for the standing long jump, Corey jumped 2 meters and Gary jumped 175 centimeters. Who jumped farther? Now, this is kind of like when we were working with our fractions and we were saying 4/100ths versus 4/10ths. Could we compare those? Not right off the bat because they didn't have the same denominator, but we could convert them into having the same denominator. That's what you're going to do with these measurements. I don't know if 2 meters or 175 centimeters is larger because they don't have the same base. They're not the same measurement. But I can convert those two things in order to figure it out. So that's what we're going to be working with today. This box right here is one of your best friends today. So when you start doing the practice buddy, make sure that you still have your book and you have this box. I'm going to erase my drawing because I kind of covered up the bottom there. That you can go back and look at, okay? Because this is one of the things that's going to help you remember how many's in what. And this, I don't have a nice fun saying to remember it. I'm sure there might be one out there, and if I find one, I'll link it along with our video as well. But really, you just have to remember this, and they're all in units of 10, okay? So that's one thing to remember. At least they're not some crazy number that's off the wall. They're all multiples of 10. So in our last problem, we knew that 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So we learned that in our last one. Well, also in our chart, we have 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So in 1 meter, there's 100 centimeters. If there's 100 centimeters, that also would mean that there's 1,000 millimeters. They got that by saying 100 times 10. Why did they multiply by 10? Yes, because there's 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So 100 times 10 equals 1,000. So there's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. Okay. Then the last one is kilometers. So there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So if I was wanting to find out how many centimeters was in a kilometer, what could I do? I could multiply it by 100 because there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Okay, so that's the way that you can go back and refer to these as you're thinking. Okay, I'm going to clear off my work here and scroll down so that we can answer the question. So it's showing us we're going to convert 2 meters into centimeters. We know 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. We see that in our little chart up here. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So if you want to do 2, you would just say 2 times 100 equals 200 centimeters. So Corey jumped 200 centimeters. Now, since they both have the same unit of measurement, just like saying they have the same denominator, we can compare them. 200 centimeters is greater than 175 centimeters. So, Corey jumped farther than Gary. This chart is going to be your savior today, so make sure that you use it while you are answering these questions. I'm going to flip over here and do a couple of these practice problems with you so that you feel confident before you go on and do the practice buddy on your own. Okay, so we have another example on top here. This is just showing you another example, just like in that visual learning, of how you could convert these. So convert 5 meters to millimeters. Multiply the larger number of units by the number of smaller units. So we know there's 5 meters. There's 1,000 millimeters per meter. So that chart told us that as well. Okay, there's 1,000 in 1 meter. So you'd say 5 times 1,000 equals 5,000. There are 5,000 millimeters in 5 meters. Okay, We are going to look here at numbers 2 and 3. So they want to know 5 kilometers equals how many meters? Look back at our chart and tell me how many meters are in 1 kilometer? How many meters are in 1 kilometer? You are exactly right. There is 1,000. So this one is similar to our example up there. I want to do 5, because that's the number of kilometers I have, times 1,000, because there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. 5 times 1,000 gives me 5,000. Okay, let's do number 3. I want for you to take a minute before I give you the answer, and I want for you to think about it. You have 75 centimeters. How many millimeters would that be? You have 75 centimeters. How many millimeters would that be? So I'm going to start your problem off for you. You want to multiply by that larger unit. So in this case, centimeters is more than millimeters, so we want to multiply by that. So 75 times, this is what we worked with in our solve and share. How many millimeters are in a centimeter? 10. You're exactly right. So 75 times 10 is, yes, 750. Okay, so I'm going to erase so that I can go down, and I'm going to do just a couple more with you before you move on so that you know that you are confident in this. Number 4, 2 meters is how many centimeters? So you want to start off with that larger unit, so 2. So you're going to do 2 times, how many centimeters are in a meter? 100. So you're going to do 2 times 100. Your answer would be 200. Good job. I'm not going to do number 5 because it's exactly the same as number 2. Okay, so I'm not going to waste our time in going and doing that, but I am going to do number 6 with you before we go free today. Number 6 has 8 centimeters. And how many millimeters? We want to multiply it by that larger unit. 8 times, we know that there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So 8 times 10 equals 80. Good job. Let's do one more just to round it out so that we've done all 3 of these measurements. We have 9 kilometers into how many meters? 9 kilometers into how many meters? We want to multiply by that larger unit starting off. 9 times, there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. 9 times 1,000 gives you 9,000. Great job. All right, guys, I hope you are feeling successful with this and you feel like you can do it. Metric system is super important to learn. In the United States, we don't use the metric system a whole lot for measurements. We still use our inches and feet, but every other country in the world uses the metric system. And if you go to buy different things at the store, you might run into the metric system. So it's so important that you all are learning how to convert these different things, okay? Because if you were happen to go to a different country, it might say you are 5 kilometers away from your destination, okay? Instead of saying you are 1,500 feet away, okay? So it's really important that you're able to convert these and understand these measurements. Okay? If you have questions, please reach out to us. Come join our office hours. We are happy to help. The practice buddy is number 13-4, and it's assigned to you on your Pearson platform. If you're having a hard time getting to those, please let us know. I know for my class specifically, I only had a handful of kids do mine the other day. So make sure that you're on there and doing those because they send us grades automatically. Okay, it's an easy way to get your participation points for the day. All right, Super Scholars, have a fantastic Friday and a great weekend. I'll talk to you all later.